Cyber Minutes podcast is for educational purposes only. The views expressed by hosts and guests are their own, not necessarily their employers. Advice discussed is general advice. We promote ethical discussions, not illegal activities. Listen responsibly. Welcome back to the Cyber Minutes podcast. Today, Flynn and I are joined by our special guest. His name's Flynn as well. Flynn has years of experience working as a software engineer and is currently writing his thesis for his honours. He'll be joining us for a few episodes to give an insight of a software engineer into the cyber landscape. Without further ado, we'll get right into it. Getting into cyber and IT, what are employers looking for? What are some interview questions and tips? I'll start off. Flynn, what do you think about this one?
I think a big part of cyber is a lot of it's going to be networking, unfortunately for some people, fortunately for others.
Yeah.
I think a big value from going to university was meeting a lot of people in the industry and being able to talk to people about my experience, what I'm passionate about, and then bring that to the roles I go into. For example, I've currently worked 2.5 jobs in IT. One of them I got from Max, one of them I got from another friend of mine, and my current one, someone reached out to me, which I already had the experience from. But yeah, I think a big part of it is how you present yourself to get those networking connections.
Yeah. Kind
of having a can-do attitude and embracing your faults, being able to look at things you've done wrong in the past and improve from those. And I think that applying to a lot of things is a good idea. Even if you don't think you have the qualifications, a lot of the time the requirements from HR are a bit ridiculous. So I recommend just applying to as much stuff as possible.
Yeah, there's a lot of jobs. I think that a lot of people are a little bit afraid to apply for certain jobs. Like they see 5 years experience or 2 years experience and they go, well, I've only got 1.5 years experience. So, I can't apply for this.
Yeah.
Which is totally the wrong approach. I think that you should really be making sure to apply to every job you can, just shotgun it. That's what I did, is I just sort of looked for some graduate programs and just, shotgun my approach, applied for everything, tried to get as much traction as possible. A sort of a good technique as well is making sure your resume looks good. I think it's something that we haven't touched on before, is making sure you have a sort of a concise resume. I reckon 1 page only.
Yeah.
1 page only.
I think that comes back to being presentable. And
yeah, I've seen people that have 3 or 4 page resumes, and that's just
to have a novel for their resume.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to do that. Yeah, I think so. Making sure that you're networking with people, definitely. Making sure you know how to market yourself a little bit. So that's making sure that you're coming off in a nice way. First impressions really count in interviews and talking to people in a lot of regards. You have to make sure those first 10 seconds when you're meeting someone, like if you're shaking your hand or introducing yourself, talking about what you do when you're networking or when you're at an interview as well, I think is a really good one. But what about your experience in interviews or how to get into IT?
I'm a software engineer in practice. I'm very close to graduating with my degree. And I've only worked in sort of software related jobs. But yeah, I'm going to beat a dead horse here. It's about social skills and presentation. It's like technical skills really don't come into play as much as you'd think. If you can demonstrate some conceptual knowledge about those technical points and demonstrate that you can learn on those technical points, I think that's going to be all that employers want. I can't say for sure. I've only been in the industry so long, but technical points just aren't as important as people think they are. Nobody wants the IT stereotype of, a bit introverted, a bit of a hermit. Nobody wants that. We want more social skills in the industry now. Yeah, so presentation, 1 page resume, confident in the interview, and honest and genuine. Really, that's my approach. Yeah, just touch on what you said before, Max. I think a big part of it is not getting disheartened when you're applying to stuff.
Yeah.
Especially with I don't know if you'd say saturated, but such a popular job market in cybersecurity right now, is that you're just not going to get every role. When you're applying to a lot of things, just go for it. If you end up getting one and then you also end up getting another, that's great. Now you've got options.
Yeah.
Options can never hurt. But as we said, just apply to as much things as possible. I think that's the best approach.
Yeah, and I think another thing that people sort of forget to mention, and it puts a lot of pressure on people, is sometimes people pretend to be people they aren't. Sometimes you can pretend, like it's very easy to go, oh yeah, and just agree with everything the interviewer says. Whereas I think what you should try and do is just really be yourself and really push through your interests, because you really don't want to get in a job that's meant for someone that you are trying to portray yourself as.
Yeah,
you want to.
It comes back to what Flynn said about being honest with yourself, and I think a lot of employers are looking for those people. Like, there's going to be parts in jobs where you don't know what to do, and a lot of it's about figuring out how to achieve that. Like, for my current role in the interview, there were parts where I wasn't going to get right, and because of that, they wanted to see my process into how to figure things out.
Yeah,
putting on a facade. Though it might work for some people occasionally, but I think it's an invaluable tool to be able to give your thoughts on things, what you're good at, what you're not good at, and what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
And the other point there that I sort of read in from what Max said was that don't spend too much time. This is a bit of a overarching advice, but don't spend too much time looking at the end result for the employer. Look at the end result for you. Are you gonna sit in the job? Are you gonna stay there and enjoy it?
Is there under growth opportunity?
Is it gonna make you grow? Is it gonna leave you unhappy for the next 2 years of your life working there, or is it gonna leave you feeling fulfilled?
Yeah. When they ask you what's your biggest challenge or what's your biggest mistake, don't say I don't make mistakes. It sounds stupid, right? But apparently a lot of people really do say that. I've heard from some of the recruiters at work, they say that a lot of people do say, I don't make mistakes. I make sure that sometimes there's a wrong way to answer.
Well, they sound like the perfect person.
Exactly. Some people will try and justify it saying, I always make sure I do my due diligence and blah, blah, blah. But if they say they don't make mistakes, they're lying. So that's not...
So that comes back to what I said, where you've got to be good at failing to succeed in cyber and a lot of things in general.
Yeah.
Where you're going to make mistakes, and you shouldn't get disheartened from making mistakes. You should just kind of own up to it and go, okay, this is how I'm going to improve. This is how I'm going to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah. How do I fix the outcome?
Something I wanted to touch on as well is we've gone over how to get into cyber. What do you think is one of the best attributes you can have to succeed once you're already in?
It's a really good question. So I did a presentation somewhat similar to this on work just a few weeks ago. What I sort of said is your main thing that's going to drive you through is just some essence of perseverance, making sure that even though that you're going to be really stressed out, likely when you first get in there, you might be hit with some imposter syndrome. Nothing makes sense. Everyone's saying these crazy acronyms that you have no idea what they mean.
Yeah.
But you just have to persevere. Keep trying, keep applying yourself. Persevere until you can't persevere anymore.
I suppose it comes down to a lot of dedication stuff, like, a lot of people talk about being motivated to do something, and which is important and it's fantastic. But at the end of the day, you've also got to be able to present resilience.
Once you're in as well, soaking up as much knowledge early on saves you in the long run.
Yeah, just being a sponge. There's no point in getting an ego, especially once you're just starting in the industry. You think you know a lot until you get there, so you don't know anything.
Yeah, you realise you don't know shit.
One of the biggest important things to have in my role is being able to communicate technical and non-technical issues to people.
Yeah.
So, especially in my role being in cyber risk and consultancy areas, being able to talk to a technical person and being able to convey maybe governance stuff, maybe it's just understanding their current controls that are in place or their current environment. That's extremely important. But then on the other side, being able to go to people like managers or the board and stuff like that may not know technical roles, but being able to convey the importance of issues, why certain issues need certain resolutions, remediation plans, how to get there, a kind of roadmap of how to improve someone's cybersecurity is really, really important. It's a big issue as a lot of people, you tell them cybersecurity and you're like, well, why do I need it? Because there's not an obvious payoff with cybersecurity a lot of the time, because there's no monetary benefit from the get-go.
No,
like you could tell people they're going to get breached and stuff, but no, that's never going to happen to us is usually what's the answer. Yeah, being able to convey the importance of technical issues to non-technical people is invaluable, I think. And on the flip side as well, like there's often a disconnect between IT guys that I've found where they don't really see the importance of governance and risk management and stuff like that. It's just equally as important. You need both to have a successful information security capability.
Yeah.
So being able to go both ways is just completely invaluable.
Yeah, so I guess a few things to sort of sum it up is make sure you're networking, make sure you're making yourself presentable when you're marketing yourself a little bit. Don't stress if you don't get your first few job offers, because you won't.
Did you have any aspects that you wanted to go out, Flynn? I was going to say, this is once again a bit of an IT and a software development perspective, but I think it definitely applies to nearly every industry. Read the docs, do the tutorials. You got to do a little bit of redundant work to catch up with more advanced knowledge. I guess in cybersecurity, you've got to start with learning like how a firewall works. Don't be scared to learn about that. To get to that more advanced topics. Those more advanced topics, yeah. Rome wasn't built overnight.
No, exactly not. Yep. So once you're in the job, be a sponge, learn some advanced hard topics, try and apply yourself. Try really hard to just push through and persevere, and
just a can-do attitude, really.
Can-do attitude, yeah. Ask lots of questions. That's something that people sometimes get to do.
Or are scared to do.
Yeah,
I don't think there's anything particularly unique about what you need to do in the cyber industry. It's just, yeah. If you're shot down for asking questions, that's a major red flag. You probably got to dodge a bullet here.
So ask questions in the interview as well.
Yeah, well, that's actually a great advice, as I think asking questions in the interview is a really good thing to do, because it shows that you're passionate about maybe the role, maybe that particular job, or the industry. Yeah, I think that's a really good thing to do.
Thanks for listening. Just a reminder that the Cyber Minutes podcast is for educational purposes only. The views expressed by hosts and guests are their own, not necessarily their employers. Advice discussed is general advice. We promote ethical discussions, not illegal activities. Have a cybersecurity question? Send an email to cyberminutespodcast@gmail.com, as we'd love to answer it. Stay cyber safe.